In a bustling city full of hurried people, there is an orphan girl fighting every day just to survive. But her life will change forever when a small act of kindness leads her down a path she never dared to dream of. Lagos, a city full of hustle and bustle, where people rush past each other, sometimes without even looking into each other's eyes. Among this crowded flow, there was a small girl named Lucy, silently walking with an indescribable sadness in her eyes. The room she called home was nothing more than a cramped, windowless space with cracks in the walls that, whenever it rained, allowed water to seep through and drip into the old containers she had placed on the floor to catch the rain. The sounds of the busy streets outside never ceased, from the blaring horns of cars to the chatter from the roadside vendors. But for Lucy, all of these noises gradually faded away when she looked at the wall opposite, where the memories of her parents still lingered vividly. Her parents had passed away in a tragic car accident, leaving her all alone in the world with no place to turn, to no family to lean on. That day was one of those when she felt the weight of loneliness pressing heavily in her chest. Yet Lucy refused to let her pain defeat her. She didn't cry, she didn't break down. She stood up, wiped away the tears that hadn't yet fallen, and continued to work. She was one of the hardest workers at the shopping mall where she worked, even though it wasn't her dream job. But to Lucy, every day at work was an opportunity to survive, to make a living, and to send money back to the small room she called home. Over the years since losing her parents, Lucy had to change many habits, from attending university to taking on jobs that most people would avoid. She had once dreamed of becoming a doctor, hoping to help others and bring hope to those in need. But when her parents died, everything changed. She no longer had the money to continue her studies, no money to buy books or pay for tuition. She had no family support, no relatives to lean on. She was left all alone with only the small room she lived in, where silent tears fell each night as she remembered the happy days with her parents. But Lucy refused to let herself sink into sorrow for too long. She understood that life must go on, and only she could change her own destiny. Every day she woke up very early before the sun even rose. She washed her face, changed clothes, and stepped out of the empty room preparing for a new day. Since her parents passed, she had no one to share breakfast with, no one to talk to about the events of the day. But she didn't complain. She knew that in this world, no one cared about her personal sorrows. Everyone was busy with their own lives, with their own work and worries. So Lucy decided not to let anyone see her pain. She made an effort to smile at everyone around her, even if it was just a faint smile. It was all she could do to soothe herself and make others feel comfortable. As she entered the shopping mall where she worked, Lucy started another long day. She stood at the entrance greeting customers as they came and went, helping them find the items they needed. She moved from one counter to another, rearranging items on shelves, wiping down display racks, and doing all the tasks that no one else wanted to do. Although she could be exhausted, Lucy never let it show. She always smiled even when she felt drained, even when she dreamed of a different life. A life where she could go back to schoolwork in a better environment and help others who were struggling like herself. But those were just dreams, and they could only come true if she kept pushing forward. Day after day, Lucy's work remained unchanged. She continued walking with determination, constantly reminding herself that one day she would do something greater. But deep inside, she still longed for change, for a new ray of hope, an opportunity to escape from this life. And though she didn't speak it aloud, all of her efforts stemmed from a single desire. One day she would be able to help others, just as she had always dreamed of. No matter how harsh life got, Lucy never gave up. She knew that although everything around her could change, she would always be the one to decide her own fate. And as each day passed with her smile and resilience, Lucy kept fighting, refusing to let her circumstances weaken her resolve. That day, as Lucy was busy with her work at the counter, restocking the shelves and assisting customers, an elderly woman entered the store. She wore a faded dress, her white hair partly covering her eyes, yet there was an undeniable strength in the way she moved. Slowly, with each step, it seemed as if the weight of the years burdened her, her every movement a silent testament to the fatigue of time. She walked up to the oil shelf, picked up a small bottle, and made her way to the counter. Lucy, standing a little further away, spotted her and smiled in greeting as she always did. But as soon as the old woman placed the oil bottle on the counter, a strange feeling stirred in Lucy's chest. The cashier, a young girl, began to tally the price. But when the elderly woman opened her wallet, a look of concern spread across her face. The cashier didn't even notice continuing her work on the register, but to Lucy it felt like time slowed down. Despite being busy, Lucy couldn't take her eyes off the old woman. The woman fumbled through her old worn-out wallet, her hands trembling, her eyes searching in vain. A few small coins jingled in her hand, but it was clear it wasn't enough to pay. "I'm sorry, dear. I forgot my purse," the elderly woman murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, as if she were afraid someone might hear. Her face flushed with embarrassment, her hands trembling as she placed the bottle of oil back on the counter. The cashier looked up with a look of impatience, waving the woman aside. "Then don't waste my time, you need to leave. This is not a charity place," she sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. The people around began to turn and stare, forming a silent circle. The old woman lowered her head, the tears she couldn't hold back poised to fall. Lucy stood from a distance, a wave of helplessness rising within her. She could see the despair in the woman's eyes, the poverty and loneliness she was enduring. And in that moment, Lucy couldn't just stand by. Without hesitation, she walked swiftly to the counter and approached the elderly woman. "Don't worry, I'll pay for you," Lucy said, her voice gentle yet resolute. She turned to the cashier and added, "Charge it to me." The cashier looked up surprised and slightly annoyed. "What are you doing? Are you sure you want to use your money on someone who has nothing?" she asked, her tone mocking. But Lucy paid no mind to her words. She looked at the elderly woman, her eyes full of empathy and strength. "Don't worry, she won't owe you anything," Lucy reassured her as she took the money from her purse to pay. She handed a large note over, and after the transaction was done, the cashier returned the change. But Lucy quickly shook her head. "Keep the change," she said. "She'll surely need it for something else." The old woman looked up, a mix of surprise and deep gratitude in her eyes. She couldn't find words, only lowering her head in silent emotion. "Thank you, my child, thank you so much," she said, her voice trembling. The look the elderly woman gave Lucy was more than just gratitude. It was filled with hope. Hope that there were still kind-hearted people in the world, that compassion still existed in a world so full of cold stares and judgments. In that moment, Lucy felt that her act of kindness had not only helped an old woman in need, but also restored her own belief that kindness can still change everything. As the old woman walked away, her steps seemed steadier, as if something inside her had shifted. But for Lucy, this act of kindness would change her life forever. Not because of the act itself, but because of the strength she discovered within herself when she helped someone without expecting anything in return. And in that moment, a door opened, not just for the elderly woman, but for Lucy herself. A door to opportunities she had never dared to dream of, a chance to change her life, not only her own, but the lives of those around her. After receiving help from Lucy, Mrs. Agnes felt a part of her heart break open. She had lived in solitude and darkness for many years, especially after the death of her husband, Anthony Badness, the pillar of the family, the one who had helped her overcome countless hardships in life. His death left a void in her life that could never be filled, and for years she had endured the pain alone in a world full of deceit and personal interests. Mrs. Agnes was a woman of high status, known as the wife of a billionaire. But the years of living in the shadow of her husband's death had made her more cautious, withdrawn, and closed off in the high walls of her loneliness. Despite her wealth and power, she never felt truly happy. She had seen everything that wealth could offer, but she had never felt the warmth and true human connection until she met Lucy. When Lucy stepped in to help her without hesitation, with no strings attached, Mrs. Agnes suddenly realized that she had spent too long living in a world full of calculations, where kindness was no longer valued. Lucy's act of kindness, a young girl with nothing but her fatigued resilience and an open heart, made her feel like she had rediscovered her faith in humanity. She realized that she had lived for too long, with misguided values too long, in a world of deceit and selfishness. But Lucy, with her pure heart and sincerity, made Mrs. Agnes reconsider everything. The next day, Mrs. Agnes decided to find Lucy. She wanted to meet the girl again, to thank her for her actions, but also to do something in return. She couldn't forget the determined look in Lucy's eyes, the way she had refused the material gifts. That only made Mrs. Agnes feel a deeper connection, and she knew she wanted to do something to help her. But she also knew that Lucy was someone who would not easily accept help unless it was for a just cause. Therefore, she had to find another way. When Mrs. Agnes went to the mall for the second time, she saw Lucy working. She still wore that smile, though perhaps only Lucy understood the hardships she was facing. Mrs. Agnes walked over to her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have a very good heart, Lucy," she said, her voice warm and filled with understanding. "You deserve a better life." Lucy looked up at Mrs. Agnes, surprised but still maintaining her calm demeanor. "Thank you, but I didn't do it for anything in return. I just wanted to help because I saw you needed help," she responded, her voice steady and unchanged. "You don't need to refuse like that," Mrs. Agnes said, her eyes brimming with emotion. "I want to help you. I want to help you have a brighter future." Mrs. Agnes then invited Lucy to her home, a luxurious mansion on a quiet street. The large house with its gray stone walls and lush green gardens resembled a castle. When Lucy stepped into the house, she couldn't help but be in awe of the opulence. However, no matter how beautiful the house was, it was Mrs. Agnes' eyes that made Lucy feel the emptiness of a mother who had lost her life partner. Wealth could not make up for the pain Mrs. Agnes had suffered. Mrs. Agnes led Lucy into the living room, where there was a comfortable armchair and a small tea table. She took out a small box, opened it, and handed Lucy a gold necklace and a diamond ring. "You helped me when no one else did. This is a part of my thanks to you," Mrs. Agnes said, her eyes full of sincerity. "I want you to accept it." Lucy looked at the necklace and the ring, her eyes sparkling with surprise, but she quickly shook her head. "Mrs. Agnes, I didn't help you for these gifts. I just wanted to help because I knew you needed assistance." Mrs. Agnes fell silent for a moment, then slowly placed the box back on the table. "Lucy, you don't understand. You are a rare person. How many people in this world are willing to help without expecting anything in return?" she said, her voice choked, her eyes filled with tears. "You have a great heart, and I want to help you fulfill your dreams." Lucy looked at Mrs. Agnes, feeling the sincerity in her heart. She smiled gently but remained firm in her decision. "I don't need material gifts. I just want to rise on my own to build my future. That's what I want to do, Mrs. Agnes." Mrs. Agnes looked at her, the emotion rising in her chest. "You are truly remarkable, Lucy. The world needs more people like you. But if you won't accept help, at least let me offer you a new opportunity. You deserve it." Lucy hesitated for a moment, then nodded lightly. "Then I'll accept the opportunity you offer, but only if it's an opportunity for me to stand on my own and take control of my life." Felix, Agnes's only son, had lived a life filled with power and wealth. Born into a prestigious family, he was the heir to a large business empire where he lacked nothing. He was always in control, the one making the final decisions, the one others had to follow. Yet in his heart there was a void that neither money nor power could fill. It was loneliness. As a young man, Felix had spent most of his time working and maintaining his family's reputation, but he had never truly felt he understood people or even himself. One day, Mrs. Agnes told Felix about Lucy, the girl who had helped her in a difficult situation at the shopping center. Her story of a poor girl who not only was willing to help, but also refused material gifts, stirred something different in Felix. He had heard many stories of people doing good deeds, but what Mrs. Agnes described wasn't just about helping someone. It was about dignity, the integrity of a person who asked for nothing in return but kindness. Felix couldn't help but be impressed. A feeling of wanting to know more about this girl began to grow inside him. So Felix decided to observe Lucy from afar. He didn't approach her directly, but instead gathered information through the people who worked with her at the shopping mall. Each day he watched Lucy stand at the counter, smile at customers, rearrange goods, and assist those in need. He paid attention to how she treated everyone, how she listened and helped without ever showing signs of fatigue or dissatisfaction. Every step she took seemed full of determination, as if she was fighting against life's challenges, but never letting those hardships diminish her strong spirit. Felix began to feel a strange connection. He watched her from a distance, observing her every movement, every gesture. It wasn't because he wanted to explore a romantic relationship, but because he sensed something unique in Lucy. He saw resilience in her eyes in every smile she offered to those around her. She wasn't just working to survive, she was working because she believed in herself and believed that hard work would lead to results, no matter how difficult the journey was. There were times when she didn't notice him, and Felix would pause, asking himself if she realized that she had changed the way he viewed the world. Previously, he had always thought that life could change through money and power, that people like him could have everything without having to do much. But Lucy, with her humble hands and open heart, had taught him an important lesson about kindness and sincerity. Felix decided to approach her subtly, not in a hurry. He didn't want to disturb her, but he simply wanted to understand more about the person who he felt had something extraordinary. One day he decided to visit the shopping mall, not as a boss, but as an ordinary customer looking for a chance to talk to Lucy. He waited for the right moment, hoping to gain a deeper understanding of her, of the values she represented. When he walked up to the counter, Lucy was working as usual. She smiled and greeted him, but there was nothing in her expression that showed she recognized him. Felix liked that. He didn't want her attention to be drawn to his fame or power, just a simple conversation, a chance to learn more about her. "Thank you for your help," before Felix said gently, as if he were just another regular customer. "Mrs. Agnes told me about you. I'm very impressed with how you treat people." Lucy looked up, her eyes lighting up but maintaining a humble demeanor. She couldn't help but feel warmth from the man, but she didn't allow herself to be swept up into relationships that might alter her life. "It's nothing, sir. I just did what I felt was right," she replied, her voice soft but firm. Felix stared into her eyes, sensing a connection that was hard to describe in words. He realized that not only Mrs. Agnes but also himself had been drawn to her sincerity and dignity. Lucy was someone Felix never imagined he would meet in his life. A person who didn't seek validation from the outside world, but simply lived authentically and did good because it was the right thing to do. Every time he interacted with Lucy, Felix felt a strange stir within him, as if he was uncovering a part of himself that he had never fully understood. He realized that after all these years of living in wealth and power, he still hadn't fully grasped the true value of human beings. That feeling hit him like a light shining into his heart, opening up new thoughts about life, about the values he had never truly appreciated. "Would you like to go grab a coffee for a bit?" Felix asked as a friendly invitation, wanting to understand more about her. "We can chat for a while." Lucy hesitated, but then she realized this wasn't just a casual invitation. She didn't see anything but a genuine curiosity in Felix's eyes. She decided to accept, but in her heart she remained firm in her belief that she had to make her own decisions in life and not let anyone, no matter who they were, change the path she had chosen. Felix, after learning about Lucy's life, decided he would help her. He was not one to give up easily, especially once he recognized how extraordinary she was. Their brief conversations, their encounters, and everything he had witnessed in Lucy made him feel that she deserved a greater opportunity, a life she had never dared to dream of. With understanding and compassion, Felix decided to make an offer that anyone in Lucy's situation would find hard to refuse: a job at his company with a generous salary in a luxurious, well-equipped house. What Felix didn't expect was Lucy's resistance. To her, the offer wasn't an opportunity, it was a challenge to her dignity and self-respect. Lucy, with her strong heart and determined nature, wasn't one to accept anything she didn't feel was earned. She wasn't someone who lived off the charity or kindness of others. She was a woman who had fought through countless hardships, alone, bearing the weight of life when no one else was there. And she wasn't about to start living in a world where she wasn't the one making the decisions. When Felix offered her a job at the company with a high salary and a luxurious house, Lucy looked at him for a long time. Her expression remained calm, with no sign of excitement or surprise. She could feel Felix's kindness, but in her heart, a strong voice urged her not to abandon what she had built for herself. "Felix, I truly appreciate your offer," Lucy said, her voice calm but resolute. "But I can't accept this from you. I can't let my life go down a path of ease like that. I know your company. I know you can help me a lot, but that's not how I want to live." Felix stared at her, surprised and a little confused. "But Lucy, this is a big opportunity. You won't have to work hard anymore. You won't have to worry about life. I don't want you to live in poverty anymore. This is an opportunity that I think you deserve." Lucy shook her head, her gaze unwavering. "Thank you, but I can't accept help without my own effort and hard work. I don't want to live off what others give me. I want to build my future on my own, to learn and work hard to achieve what I deserve. That's the way I want to live." Felix felt a slight discomfort in his chest. He couldn't understand why she would refuse his help. This girl, with everything he had seen in her, was turning down an opportunity that anyone else would dream of. He had never met anyone like her, someone who wasn't defeated by her circumstances, someone who stood up alone even when she had nothing. "But Lucy, you don't have to do everything on your own anymore," Felix said, his voice gentle but tinged with pleading. "You've been through so much already. Why continue to endure when you can have a better life?" Lucy looked at him with a steady gaze. "It's not that I don't need help, Felix. I know your help is sincere, but I want to rise on my own. I don't want to become someone who depends on the kindness of others. I need to stand on my own. I want to prove that I can do everything without anyone giving me anything I don't deserve." Felix fell silent, contemplating her words. He realized that while he could provide her with everything what she truly needed wasn't a luxurious house or a stable job. What she needed was freedom, the freedom to choose her own path to build her future without anyone else dictating it. He had lived in a world where everything could be bought with money, where power and fame could bring anything you wanted. But now he realized that the true value of a person wasn't in what they had, but in what they could achieve through their own effort. "You're truly different," Lucy, Felix said, his voice filled with respect. "I understand now. You have your reasons. I can't make you accept help if you're not ready. But know this, I'll always be here if you ever need anything. I'll help you, but only when you want it." Lucy smiled, her gaze gentle. "Thank you, Felix, but I want to walk my own path. I want to prove to myself that I can do it." Their conversation didn't end with an offer or compromise. Instead, it opened a deeper understanding of each other, of the value of self-respect and independence. Felix realized that although he could offer Lucy material help, the freedom and the right to make decisions in her life were the things that mattered most to her. The relationship between Felix and Lucy was unlike the typical love stories we often hear, those where a deep connection is felt after a single encounter. Their relationship developed from a much stronger foundation, that of friendship, respect, and mutual understanding. Initially, when they met, neither of them knew that their story would unfold the way it did. But as time passed, through gentle conversations, brief encounters, and moments of sharing, they gradually grew closer. Felix, with all his success and career achievements, never looked down on Lucy. He realized that in this world there were people like Lucy, people who didn't need to rely on anyone to rise up. She wasn't just hardworking. She had dignity and determination. He began to find attraction not only in her outward appearance, but also in the strength of her soul and the sharp intellect she displayed. Each time he interacted with her, Felix felt like he was learning something not just about life, but about himself. He began to change his previous thoughts about love and relationships. He understood that love wasn't about dependency. It was about two independent individuals, two people who could share and support each other without leaning on one another. For Lucy, love wasn't the ultimate goal in her life. She had always believed that in a world full of challenges and uncertainty, it was important to be self-reliant, to build a solid foundation for herself before entering into any romantic relationship. Although she didn't deny her feelings and the connection with Felix, she remained firm in her belief that she needed to finish her studies and build her career before thinking about love and marriage. She didn't want to become someone who depended on others, whether it be love or any form of help, even if it was Felix. Each time she met Felix, she always kept a gentle distance, not allowing herself to be swept into the invitations or temptations of an easier life. She knew that once she entered this relationship, she would face many challenges. She would have to change her life, and perhaps the dreams she was pursuing would be put aside. But she understood that if she didn't complete her academic and career goals first, she would never truly feel mature or confident. For Lucy, this was a principle of life she couldn't overlook. Felix understood that. He wasn't in a rush to demand anything from her, but always respected Lucy's decision. He didn't force her to accept him, but rather he respected her independence and determination. That was why their relationship grew stronger, not just through love, but through mutual understanding. They began to see each other as companions on the journey of life, each with separate goals, but also with support and love for one another. As time passed, their relationship continued to evolve. One day, after months of working together and sharing joys and sorrows, Felix suddenly made an offer. It wasn't a typical offer, but rather a proposal. Lucy Felix said gently as they sat together at a familiar coffee shop, "I can't imagine my life without you. I've thought a lot about us, about the future, and I want you to become an important part of my life. I want you to be my wife." Felix's words startled Lucy. She looked into his sincere eyes, and emotions she couldn't express in words welled up inside her. She wasn't surprised by his feelings for her, but she found herself taken aback. What she feared wasn't love itself, but letting love overshadow and overpower the dreams and goals she had set for herself. Lucy paused, her eyes not leaving Felix's hopeful gaze. She couldn't rush into a decision at that moment. While she loved him deeply, she also knew that her life couldn't just revolve around love. She had spent so much time building her dreams, and she didn't want that to be set aside. She needed time to think, to understand what she truly wanted from life. "Felix," Lucy began, her voice soft but steady, "I can't make this decision hastily. You know that I still have many things to complete. I need to finish my studies, I need to build my career before thinking about anything else. Love is important, but I don't want to let it dominate my life. I don't want it to overshadow the goals I've set." Felix didn't protest, and he didn't insist. He looked into her eyes and understood that Lucy was right. He loved her not because she made him feel loved, but because she brought peace, respect, and resilience that he had never experienced in any relationship before. "You need time, I understand." Felix smiled, feeling a sense of relief, knowing that Lucy was staying true to her determination. "I'll wait for you, Lucy. I respect your decision, and no matter what, I'll always be here walking alongside you." Felix's words made Lucy feel a sense of peace within herself. She knew that this relationship wouldn't be an easy journey, but with Felix by her side, she believed that together they could overcome any challenge and build a future they could both be proud of. After years of relentless effort, Lucy finally achieved the dream she had always longed for. From being an orphan living in a rundown room in Lagos, with her determination and resilience, Lucy rose above her circumstances to become one of the most renowned surgeons in the country. She wasn't just a skilled doctor, she was a model of independence and perseverance, someone whose story inspired everyone who knew her. Lucy's path was never easy. Though she had the support of Felix, she never allowed that support to overshadow her dreams or principles. Throughout her years of study, she worked tirelessly, studying from early mornings until late at night. She taught herself, took online courses, and constantly sought to improve her skills. Step by step, she overcame every obstacle, and by the time she completed her studies, she had become one of the leading surgeons in her field. Her story was shared in many places, from hospitals to medical forums, about a poor orphan girl who was resilient enough to rise above poverty, refusing to let the pain of her past weaken her. Her story became an inspiration to many, especially young girls living in poverty who thought they couldn't change their lives. Lucy proved that, with enough perseverance, faith, and determination, nothing is impossible. Felix, who had always stood by her side through the long journey, felt immense pride in what she had achieved. He had always supported her in every decision, but never pushed her. He loved Lucy for her independence, her resilience, and the dignity she displayed. And when she achieved her dream, it was at that moment that they realized their relationship was not just about love, but a bond of companions, people who shared and supported each other through every circumstance. On the day of her graduation, Lucy stood at the podium, her eyes filled with tears, but her heart brimming with pride. She had made it. It was a moment she would never forget, a moment that proved that with effort and belief in herself, anything was possible. The crowd in the auditorium erupted in applause, and in the audience, Mrs. Agnes's eyes sparkled with pride. She knew that Lucy wasn't just a great doctor, but a strong woman, a role model who was essential to the community. Felix, standing at the back of the room, looked at Lucy with loving eyes. He remembered the early days when they were strangers, gradually becoming friends who understood each other and shared important moments of their lives. He had watched Lucy grow from an ambitious girl to a strong, independent woman. He never imagined that one day he would be standing there proud to have her in his life. After the graduation ceremony, Felix couldn't wait any longer to tell Lucy what he had been holding in his heart for so long. He approached her, pulled her into a tight embrace, his eyes full of emotion. "Congratulations, Lucy," Felix whispered. "You did it. You deserve all the best." Lucy looked up, her eyes shining brightly. "Thank you, Felix. I couldn't have done it without your support. You've always been the best companion." On a warm summer evening, Felix decided to do something he had been thinking about for a long time. He wanted a future with Lucy, a future they would build together. After Lucy achieved her dream, Felix proposed to her. But this time he wasn't in a hurry. He wasn't expecting her to answer immediately. He just wanted her to understand that he wanted to spend the rest of his life building a beautiful future with her. "Lucy, would you want to step into a new life with me, where we will build a family, a future, and continue to conquer our dreams?" Felix asked, his eyes gentle but filled with determination. Lucy looked at Felix, warmth swelling in her heart. She knew that his love for her wasn't just simple affection, but respect and support through every challenge. She smiled, her eyes filled with happiness, then gently replied, "I will say yes, Felix, but we will build a future together, not just for me, but for us." And so after many years of effort and waiting, they had a warm wedding surrounded by Mrs. Agnes, their close friends, and all those who had witnessed their journey of overcoming hardships. The wedding wasn't just the union of two loving hearts, but also the union of two strong, independent people who had built a future they created together. On that day, under the light of a summer afternoon, when Felix and Lucy walked into the ceremony, they received blessings from everyone around them. The best wishes from friends, family, and loved ones echoed like a sweet song full of meaning. It was the milestone of a new journey, one that they would continue together, not just in love, but also in their careers and in dreams they had yet to reach. Lucy's story is not just the story of a girl overcoming difficulties to achieve her dreams, but also a story about love, resilience, and independence. Her relationship with Felix is proof that true love isn't just the bond between two hearts, but the respect, support, and shared determination to achieve greater things.